Back in the PSP days, Patapon was one of the most unique games ever made. A rhythm-based real-time strategy game where you control an army using drum beats. Nothing else played like it. Now, in 2025, the original creator of Patapon is launching a spiritual successor, Ratatan, and it got me thinking, does Patapon still hold up today? Or was it just nostalgia? Let's find out together. I first played Patapon when it originally launched on the PSP, and I was immediately hooked. I played it everywhere, at home, at the mall while my family did groceries, and even at my grandma's house during family visits. It was the kind of game that I just couldn't put down. What made it so special back then was how different it was from anything else. It wasn't just a rhythm game, it was a strategy game where you commanded an army, but instead of using buttons or menus, you ordered your Patapon army through drum beats. Attack, defend, march forward, everything was controlled by keeping a steady rhythm. And if you played well enough, you entered fever mode, making your Patapon stronger and more aggressive. The art style also stood out immediately. Those little black silhouettes with expressive eyes, combined with colorful backgrounds, made the game visually iconic. And the music, it was great. The more you played, the more the game's beats just stuck in your head. Fast forward to 2025 and I decided to replay Patapon using the PPSSPP emulator, but I quickly ran into a problem. Input delay. Even with a wired DualSense controller, my button presses felt sluggish, making it nearly impossible to keep a perfect rhythm. I couldn't even hit fever mode. Thankfully, I found a fix, changing the rendering backend from Direct3D 11 to Vulkan and setting the buffer graphic commands option to no buffer eliminated the delay. After that, the game played flawlessly. I also wanted to improve the visuals, so I installed a Patapon remastered texture pack from a GitHub user called Sock Turtle. I will put the link in the video description if you're interested. And to push it even further, I used a program called Lossless Scaling from Steam to enable frame generation, bumping the game from its original 30 FPS to 60 FPS. With these improvements, Patapon looked sharper and smoother than ever. Now let's talk about the game itself. Even after all these years, Patapon still holds up in many ways. The gameplay remains incredibly unique. There is still no other game that blends rhythm and strategy quite like this. The progression system is also satisfying. At first, you only have a handful of basic Patapon units and a few commands, but as you progress, you unlock more unit types, stronger equipment, and new abilities that add depth to the combat. And the music, it's still just as catchy as I remember. The way your army chants along with your commands makes the battle feels alive. And when you enter fever mode, the intensity ramps up in a way that is super rewarding. Not to mention, the nostalgia factor hit me hard. Hearing the iconic Patapon again brought back so many memories. It's one of those games that just sticks with you. But as much as I love Patapon, playing it again in 2025 made me realize something. I don't have the same passions for its flaws as I did back then. Grind, and more grind. I didn't remember the game being this grindy. You constantly have to replay stages to farm materials, summon new units, and grind for kaching, the game's currency. It gets repetitive fast. And even after all that grinding, there is no guarantee you will get what you need. Which brings me to my next issue. The RNG is brutal. Patapon is heavily luck-based. Sometimes you will get the materials or rare drops you need, and sometimes you will get absolutely nothing. So you end up repeating levels over and over, hoping for a good drop. And if you take too long to grab an item dropped by enemies, it disappears forever. It's frustrating. The difficulty is unforgiving. Once I hit the desert area, the game became ridiculously hard. Fever mode is basically required to survive, but getting into fever mode means executing 8 to 10 perfect beats in a row. And in the desert, you constantly have to break fever mode to summon rain using the don't drum command. It's beyond tedious. On top of that, the game throws gimmicks at you that are straight up punishing. Some boss fights feel less like a test of skill and more like a battle of endurance against RNG and grinding. I hit a point where I just wasn't having fun anymore. so I gave in and used cheats. First, I activated a one combo fever mode cheat, which made the game far more playable. Then I used an infinite coaching cheat because I was done with the grind. Even with these cheats though, I eventually stopped playing. The combination of grinding, difficulty, and RNG just drained my enjoyment. And that made me wonder, is Patapon actually worth playing in 2025? Honestly, I don't really recommend Patapon 1 in 2025. It's too grindy, too reliant on RNG, and just way too punishing for me. However, I do remember Patapon 2 being a lot better. Less grind, more balanced difficulty, and just an overall smoother experience. I need to replay it to be sure, but from what I recall, it's the superior game. Let me know if you want to watch a Patapon 2 video from me. That said, Patapon is still worth trying at least once. There is simply no other game like it. And if you're curious about its unique mechanics, it's an interesting experience. Maybe you will enjoy Patapon more than me. But maybe the best option is to just wait for Ratatan. Since it's a spiritual successor from the original creator, it might capture the magic of Patapon while fixing its biggest flaws. So, what do you think? Have you played Patapon before? Do you still enjoy it? Or do you think it's too grindy and punishing? And are you excited for Ratatan? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more deep dives into classic games. And let me know in the comments, did Patapon age well for you or was it just nostalgia? Thanks for watching, and here are some other videos that YouTube think you will enjoy. See you in the next one.